Shot in 4K ultra high definition. Your number one source for local news. WRAL News. Coverage you can count on.
And Tropical Storm Imelda's forecast path keeps it way away from North Carolina, but we'll still see some rain for today and tomorrow. I'll show you how much.
And we are monitoring road conditions. The WRAL storm tracker showing you the rain that's falling on I-40 this morning. You can see the slow going traffic, what you need to know before the Monday morning commute.
Also, mass shooting developments. Today we will learn more about the people killed in Southport after men opened fire from a boat. The court appearance and visit from the governor we're monitoring today. Tropical storm Imelda moving up the East Coast before it's expected to make a sharp turn out to sea. Good morning, I'm Ken Smith.
And I'm Renee Chu. This morning, we have team coverage as we track the tropics.
The biggest impacts will be rough surf along our coast as you look live at Carolina Beach. Meteorologist Elizabeth Gardner has new information about the storm's track from the National Hurricane Center in the last 5 minutes, Elizabeth.
Yeah, so we have a new position update. It has not become a hurricane yet, so we're still looking at winds at around 50 miles per hour with Imelda. It is likely to continue north for the next 24 hours or so and then make that sharp turn to the right, kind of getting swept up behind Hurricane Umberto. We're going to talk about that whole process coming up. We do have a plume of tropical moisture that's feeding right into our viewing area this morning, and so that's where that rain is coming from. However, even though it's tropical, it's not very heavy. We've had about 1/100 of an inch of rain officially at RDU, so it's fairly widespread, but also fairly light as it's falling out there. Our chance, though, 80%, 60%, though, later on this afternoon. The rain does continue tonight and through about the first half of the day tomorrow. But even with all of that time, the rainfall totals are likely to be fairly light, maybe up to 1/2 inch in our northern counties. Could be as much as 1.5 inches in our southern counties. That, though, over a 24-hour period, it's not likely to be enough to cause any flooding. So Imelda's going to move up the coast, take that huge right turn, kind of let Umberto tug it out to sea, and we're looking at much lower rainfall totals because of it. It is messy out there, though, this morning. Take a look at our live Garner Tower. Definitely seeing some water on the camera lens. 67 is our current temperature, and our temperatures will climb into the low 70s for this afternoon. It's going to be a fairly wet day today, but we have some pretty weather in our forecast later in the week. I'll show you coming up, Ken.
All right, let's checking the morning commute at 8:02. We do have the WRAL storm tracker out on the roads this morning. Let's get right to Allie Cadlebar. She's with photographer Michael Joyner. So, Allie, what are you seeing out your window right now?
Right now we are on I-40 and we are going westbound, and we made the loop around Raleigh area 440 twice in the past hour, and we noticed, like Elizabeth has been saying all morning, that patchy light rain. And so we're going to point you to that right now. We're seeing very light rain, but the windshield wipers are on, and also the road is wet, and we're seeing people hit their brakes a lot. It's causing some of these traffic delays, a little bit of a pile up here. This again, I-40 westbound on Gorman, or near Gorman Street. And so we do have those windshield wipers on, but it is kind of turning on and off throughout the morning. And so we, of course, are going to keep you updated, Ken.
All right, Allie, we appreciate that. We can't stress enough, leave the house a little sooner than usual, because this is what we're looking at this morning. We're seeing congestion on that southern loop of the Beltline starting around Lake Wheeler Road. There was a crash on I-40 eastbound near Hammond Road. That's cleared, but we're also seeing that northern loop of the Beltline, that heavy congestion building between Capitol Boulevard, the I-87 440 interchange all the way over to Glenwood Avenue. So keep that in mind. And for those of you using I-540 as an alternate route, we're seeing a little bit of a slowdown there as well, starting around Lewisburg Road, but it clears up once you get past Creedmoor Road. You're getting ready to head into the car, though. Tune us in on the radio, 101.5 HD3.
Deputies in Durham say a minivan driver is in custody after a crash between that minivan and a slingshot. This is video from the WRAL breaking news tracker. You can see the three-wheel vehicle, the slingshot, and the minivan loaded onto a tow truck. It happened near the intersection of North Mineral Springs Road and Freeman Road. Around 4 this morning, the driver of the slingshot was hurt. We're working to learn the charges the minivan driver may face and the condition of the other driver. Turning back to the tropics now, North Carolina started preparing for the worst case scenario long before we knew what the storm would do. WRAL's Laura Levine is live outside Wake County Emergency Management Headquarters this morning. And Laura, Imelda will bring waves of rain here to our parts.
Renee, good morning. Wake County emergency management officials here locally and across the state have been preparing for the last couple of days for this storm. And as the storm here is shifting away from the North Carolina coast, we know that their response will likely shift as well today. But Governor Josh Stein, he issued a state of emergency over the weekend as a precaution, really eliminating some of that red tape to make sure that resources and relief can get to those who need it the most. The state has assembled 11 swift water rescue crews with more than 100 personnel, 2 urban search and rescue teams, as well as nearly 400 state and National Guard soldiers on standby. This morning, we also heard from Duke Energy spokesman Jeff Brooks, who shared some of the insight and how they were watching the weather and forecast closely. Take a listen.
A little bit of Hurricane Florence with its slow pace that it was going to do. And so from that standpoint, seeing it turn and go back out to the east, the change in the track really was a godsend. It was fantastic for us, but we did certainly prepare for the potential that we could have seen some significant outages.
Preparing for the worst, but things are looking much better for central North Carolina for sure. So coming up in 15 minutes, we're also going to hear from a local Wake County emergency management team person here. That's going to be a live interview coming up at 8:15. Laura Levine, WRAL News, live in Raleigh.
Now is a good time to get prepared with the WRAL weather app. You can track tropical models and read a Q&A about the upcoming tropical system written by our meteorologists. The app is free to download from your phone's app store.
Well, today we are expecting new developments after that mass shooting in Southport that left 3 people dead and 5 others hurt. The suspect in that shooting, 40-year-old Nigel Edge, has his first court appearance later this afternoon. Governor Stein will be in Southport this afternoon to join city leaders and law enforcement officers who responded. American Fish Company, the waterfront restaurant at the center of that shooting, is closing indefinitely. That's according to a Facebook post. Police say Edge, who lives in Oak Island, used a short-barreled AR rifle fitted with a suppressor, folding stock and scope to shoot from his boat. Investigators call his attack both targeted and highly premeditated. Now, after the arrest, the SBI reached his home and searched it, and vehicles recovering multiple weapons. Investigators say Edge claims to be a combat veteran with PTSD. Oak Island police revealed they've had many encounters with him in the past.
There are some minor contacts over the years, but nothing significant in his past which would give us any indication that he was capable of such horror. The thread that connects everyone who's a victim in this case to this point just appears to be a love of having a good time and enjoying all that Southport has to offer.
There's a growing memorial outside American Fish Company. The police chief says many of the victims were from out of state. So far, their names have not been released. The Oak Island police chief says Edge frequently hung out on their pier. He's filed numerous lawsuits against the town and police department within the last couple of years. More charges are pending against him. Governor Stein also posted this statement about the victims. Anna and I pray for their families and friends. Southport is a small but strong community. May we all come together to support them as they heal from this horrific shooting. WRAL will have a news crew in Southport this afternoon to cover the governor's visit.
This morning, Raleigh members of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints are mourning after a devastating attack on a church in Michigan. 4 people were killed when the church was shot into and set on fire yesterday morning. 2 of them were shot, 2 were found inside the church. At least 8 other people are hurt, and the church building is a total loss from the fire. The Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives says all indications point to the suspect using gasoline to set the church on fire. 40-year-old Thomas Sanford is accused of ramming his car into the front door of the church in Michigan shortly before 10:30 in the morning yesterday, then opened fire on the congregants. Sanford was killed by a Department of Natural Resources officer and a Grand Blanc police officer in the back parking lot of the church. Sanford was a Marine. His last assignment was at Camp Lejeune in 2008. Raleigh members of the church say they are feeling the pain in the community all the way from here.
We have other members in other places. It's very easy to be connected to those events. And so as a church, we rally around each other. We support each other, both those that are here in the Raleigh area as well as those around the country.
Investigators could not confirm how many people are still unaccounted for, but They say there are people still missing. The FBI is investigating the attack in Michigan as a targeted act of violence. Today, President Trump will meet with all 4 congressional leaders less than 2 days before a potential government shutdown. This shutdown will be different than others. The White House Budget Office is threatening mass firings in the event of a shutdown. Lawmakers have until the end of the day tomorrow to approve a new spending package.
I'll tell you, a wild, high-scoring game on Sunday Night Football as the Dallas Cowboys hosted the Green Bay Packers. The team scored back and forth all night long, eventually getting to overtime, tied at 37. Now, in overtime, they traded field goals, with the Packers getting theirs as time expired. The game ended in a 40-40 tie. It's the second highest-scoring tie in NFL history.
Seeking a ceasefire. Today, President Trump and Israel's prime minister will meet. Why the president is confident in his ability to strike a deal for peace in Gaza.
And Imelda preparations, no landfall in the forecast, though, but that didn't stop crews from preparing for the worst. We'll speak with North Carolina Emergency Management about their pivot after the break.
And we have some light rain spreading across our viewing area this morning. You may need to keep your umbrella handy today. It'll continue into tomorrow, but it's not likely to cause any flooding. I'll show you some of the rainfall totals we can see coming up. 8:14, we do have a steady flow of tropical moisture coming up from the Atlantic, and that has moved into our viewing area this morning. Expect the rain to be fairly widespread, but also fairly light. It will be long in duration, but none of it's going to be terribly heavy. So not expecting any flooding out of this. It's just going to be some inconvenient weather that we'll see this morning from Sanford to Durham and Oxford over towards Smithfield and Rocky Mount and Wilson. Most of us seeing some rain right now, except down into the Sandhills. 80% chance this morning, and then 60% chance later on this afternoon. Rain chances again tomorrow at about 70%, and that looks like it's going to be for the first half of the day. And then after that, it looks like the rain moves on out. Now, if you didn't happen to be watching much news over the weekend, you might be surprised in the track of Imelda, which is going to be pretty far away from the coast of North Carolina. Meteorologist Chris Michaels coming up to talk about why it changed.
All right, this is what's happening now at the WRAL Traffic Center. We're keeping an eye on that situation on I-87 in those southbound lanes. This is right where the Smithfield Road exit. You can see at least one lane is closed, causing a little bit of a backup there. I should say a lot of a backup there on I-87. So if you're coming in from Zebulon, you might want to keep that in mind. Right now, you're looking at an 8-minute delay coming in from Nightdale once you get past the situation there. Zebulon, just a 7-minute delay if you're coming in from Wake Forest this morning. Over in Durham, we're seeing the situation on the I-40, the Wade Avenue area, the westbound I-40, looking at an 11-minute delay. If you're using Highway 98 to come from Wake Forest into Durham, you're looking at a 7-minute delay. And as always, you get ready to head into the car. Tune us in on the radio, 101.5 HD3. Also this morning, we know Imelda won't make landfall, but that didn't stop emergency crews from preparing for the worst. Justin Graney joins us now from the North Carolina Emergency Management. Justin, great to have you in the program this morning.
Thank you for having me.
So listen, we have talked with you earlier this week about how the state is preparing. How have things changed since the forecast has changed?
So we're still preparing for the worst, just as you said, Ken. We want to make sure that we have the resources staged and ready to go. If any of our counties, cities, or towns need additional resources to supplement first responders as we go through the beginning of the week with the uncertainty still in the rainfall forecast. We did see this morning where we've got some coastal flood advisories and coastal flood warnings, and we could still see some coastal flooding, dangerous rip currents, dangerous surf. And we want to make sure that, everyone is prepared and ready to go. So we've gone ahead. The state EOC in Raleigh is activated. The state emergency response team has been planning since late last week for all different types of scenarios to make sure that we're ready for whatever comes our way. This morning, we've got specialized communications equipment and personnel, incident management team personnel, 6 North Carolina swiftwater rescue teams activated and standing by. So we've got resources ready to go, and let's just hope that they're not needed, but if they are, they're ready to quickly and decisively move into areas along central and eastern North Carolina as necessary.
So Justin, really quickly, remind our viewers what it means to be in a state of emergency and why that doesn't always mean things are going to get really bad.
No, a state of emergency is not an indicator of how severe a situation is going to be. It's really a tool to facilitate disaster response and recovery. Governor Stein declared a state of emergency statewide earlier or late last week into the weekend. Really, that just opens the door for state and local agencies to work closely together, and it removes different barriers for quick response and quick recovery, like transportation waivers, hours of service, so that we can help move agricultural supplies and equipment. We can help move power crews. We can move commodities as necessary. So it's really just a tool to help facilitate that response.
Yeah, so happy Imelda is shifting away from us. Justin Graney from the State Emergency Management, we appreciate your time and perspective this morning.
For having me.
Ken and Justin, we're talking about that evolving forecast. At one point, it looked like Imelda might make landfall in South Carolina. Now we know the storm will go out to sea. Meteorologist Chris Michaels shows us how two tools in the weather arsenal led to the forecast change, a change that we're all grateful for.
Yeah, very thankful for that, right? You had Thursday, Friday morning, it looked like it was going to make landfall somewhere in South Carolina, which would have meant a ton of rain for us all across the state. But then we started to see that shift. Amy, Kat, and Mike were telling you about it as soon as midday Friday, and thankfully that shift happened. The reason why we were able to tell that is because of these two tools, weather balloons that were being launched more in the eastern U.S. and hurricane hunters that were flying into both Imelda and Hurricane Umberto. So what these two things do, the balloons, they collect real-time observational data on land. The hurricane hunters do the same thing, but from those individual storms. All that real-time data gets fed into the models we use that help us understand trends better. So what we started to notice was low pressure over land was weaker. It wasn't going to grab Imelda and pull it toward us. Imelda was slower to form, which allowed Umberto to ride parallel to it and drag it out to sea. So it's kind of this game of tug of war between a toddler to the west and a bodybuilder to the east. Who do you think is going to win that battle? Well, thankfully this time around, Hurricane Umberto wins that battle and brings Imelda out to sea.
Leave it to Chris to come up with a toddler and bodybuilder analogy. Okay, I see it. Today, President Donald Trump and Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu are set to meet. During the meeting, President Trump is expected to propose a new plan to end the war in Gaza. The president posted on Truth Social yesterday, sharing his optimism that a deal would get done. President Trump has stood behind Israel, but has grown more frustrated recently following Israel's bombing of Qatar. It is 8:20, and let's get to meteorologist Elizabeth Gardner with exactly what impacts we will see from Tropical Storm Imelda, even though it's not going to make landfall and Umberto is going to pull it away from the coast.
So really the only thing we'll see is just some inconvenient weather. We're not looking at anything dangerous here, but because of the inconvenience of it, we launched a WRAL weather alert day. We'll likely see an average of a half an inch to an inch, or maybe places that are a little bit less than that or a little bit more than that. Excuse me, but it's not likely to be enough rain to cause any flooding anywhere. Also, some gusty winds, especially tomorrow, 20 to 30 miles per hour. That's not strong enough to really do any damage, and tornadoes are not expected. So just some inconvenient rain that we'll end up seeing. Of course, we're watching both Imelda and Umberto. Chris did a great job of explaining how all of this is going to come together as Imelda gets tugged east by Umberto tomorrow. Let's take a look at where they are right now. Here's Imelda, and there's Umberto, much farther out to sea. Now, we are seeing a steady plume of moisture way ahead of Imelda. It's not necessarily associated with Imelda. It's just that we have a flow that is coming from the south moving into North Carolina. So we do have some rain in our forecast. We'll watch both of these pass. Of course, Umberto is a very powerful Category 4 storm. And later on, say tomorrow, Imelda may become a Category 1 hurricane. Of course, it's going to get swept up in the same path as Umberto. We can take a look at that too here. Chris showed us here. We can watch sort of how all of this transpires. Umberto powerful enough to start to drag Imelda offshore, and it just sort of follows it, maybe kind of like a puppy dog, and pulls it right offshore so that by Wednesday, we're starting to clear things out. But of course, Umberto is a fairly powerful storm, and we will see high rip current danger, rough surf, and maybe some tidal flooding along the coast of North Carolina and really up and down the East Coast. For us here, the impacts are minimal. We'll see just some patchy light rain for today, tonight, and for about the first half of the day tomorrow. tomorrow. It's fairly dry around Southern Pines and in Hope County, but a lot of folks are seeing some light rain this morning. That does look like it continues through much of the day today. There's 5 o'clock this afternoon. We move it on ahead through tonight, and that rain continues. We'll start it up again here at 7 or 8 o'clock in the morning, so it may be a little wet for the commute, but then after that, once we get toward lunchtime, it looks like most of that rain dissipates. So how much rainfall are we talking about? These are sort of higher end totals, so I still feel like there are going to be some places with maybe a quarter to a half an inch, and some could top out at maybe an inch to an inch and a half. Tomorrow, we're going to see some winds gusting around 25 miles per hour, in some places maybe up to 30, but that wind is not strong enough to really cause any issues. Once we get to Wednesday, we'll see some gradual clearing. We have pretty weather in our forecast toward the end of the week with highs in the 70s and lows in the 50s.
All right, we're keeping an eye on the situation on I-87 in those southbound lanes near the Smithfield Road exit. You can see at least one lane is closed, but traffic is getting through. We probably have some onlooker delay to really be on the safe side. But if you're coming in from Zebulon, you might want to get off on the Smithfield Road exit, work your way to the Pool Road, because right now you're looking at a 7-minute delay.
Tracking Imelda. No landfall in the forecast, but that's not stopping our state from preparing for the worst. The crews mobilized to protect North Carolinians. And the developments in the Southport shooting. Today, we're expecting new information about that mass shooting at the coast.
Stay safe with the latest WRAL Weather Alert Day info. Get up to the minute weather and traffic conditions when you get in your car. In Raleigh on 99.3 FM, in Durham 96.5 FM, and everywhere on 101.5 HD3.
It is 8:26. I'm Renee Chu. Today is the WRAL Weather Alert Day. Let's get to Elizabeth Gardner with a look at the widespread rain.
Yeah, you can see a lot of it coming right out of the south. So some tropical moisture in place for us this morning. And we're dealing with some scattered showers out there. Most of this has been fairly light this morning, but it will continue through the day and into the evening and overnight and into the first half of the day tomorrow. Still, we're not likely to see enough rain to cause any flooding. 80% chance, though, this morning, and 60% chance later on this afternoon. Coming up on Fox 50, we'll talk about some of the rainfall totals and some of the winds that we'll see.
Happening out of the WRAL traffic center. Let's take to the east of Raleigh. This situation on I-87 in the southbound lanes right near the Smithfield Road exit. You can see a little bit of a delay that's causing at least one lane is closed. So if you're in a rush this morning, you can't wait. Get off on Smithfield Road, work your way over to Pool Road, and then back onto the Beltline. Because right now you're looking at a 7-minute delay if you're coming in from Knightdale. You're looking at a 6-minute delay if you're coming down from Wake Forest this morning. Over in Durham, the real troubled spot is I-40 westbound in that Wade Avenue area. You're looking at a 10-minute delay. So keep that in mind as you get ready to head out.
Governor Josh Stein issued a state of emergency to be ready for the potential impacts of Tropical Storm Imelda. The state is preparing for a worst-case scenario. It's assembled 11 swiftwater rescue crews and 2 urban search and rescue teams specializing in building collapses. Also, nearly 400 state National Guard soldiers are on standby. This morning, the driver of a minivan is in custody after it crashed. Video from the WRAL Breaking News Tracker shows the scene at North Mineral Springs Road and Freeman Road. The crash happened around 3:30 a.m. We're told the van crashed into a 3-wheeled vehicle. The driver of that vehicle was hurt. We have much more news coming up on Fox 50.
And it is a WRAL Weather Alert Day for some showers that we'll end up seeing this morning. I'll show you what to expect as we see Imelda pulling away from us.
Also, waterfront mass shooting.
Evil has come ashore in Southport, North Carolina.
What we could learn about the victims today as the accused gunman is set to appear before a judge.
And church attack. A church rammed, shot into, and then set on fire. How local church leaders are working to make places of worship more secure. A lot to tell you about here at 8:30 as we help you get ready for WRAL Weather Alert Day. We will see waves of rain today. I'm Renee Chu.
And I'm Ken Smith. With all that in mind, let's go ahead and get back to meteorologist Elizabeth Gardner, the WRAL Severe Weather Center, tracking it all for us.
Yeah, so we do have some showers across our area. It's fairly light, all total between today and tomorrow. We're going to average about half an inch to an inch, so this is not going to be a flooding situation. We're just dealing with some rain for your morning commute. And that rain will continue through this afternoon and tonight. Winds gusting tomorrow up to around 20 20 to 30 miles per hour, which is not enough to cause any real damage, but it'll be breezy, and we're not expecting any tornadoes. So just some inconvenient rain for us this morning. The storm is still on track to pull away from the coast of the United States rather rapidly tomorrow, may become a Category 1 hurricane, but it stays way off the coast of North Carolina, which means we're just seeing a plume of tropical moisture bringing some rain into the area. It's not nearly as heavy as it would have been if that storm was going to pass closer to us. So some scattered rain out here for us this morning, pretty much almost everywhere you go. And there are a few pockets where it's a little heavier, say between Clayton and Smithfield. You need to run your windshield wipers maybe a little heavier there. 80% chance this morning and then 60% chance later on this afternoon. The rain does continue tonight and into tomorrow. So all total, we could see as little as a quarter of an inch to a half an inch or as much as an inch to an inch and a half. But still over 2 days' time, it's not likely enough to cause any flooding. So we'll continue to watch Imelda moving up the coast today, and then Umberto is going to drag it out to sea, and our local rainfall totals will be fairly low. We do have a lot of cloud cover that just moved in front of the Garner Tower. 67 is our temperature in the triangle, and it stays cool today with highs in the low 70s.
All right, it's been happening now in the WRAL Traffic Center because of the intermittent showers that we've been experiencing all morning long. We do have the WRAL Storm Tracker out on the roads this morning. Let's check in with Ali Cadler-Barr. She's along with photographer Michael Joyner. And Ali, what are you seeing right now where you are?
We're on Durham Freeway and we are headed northbound, but we've had our windshield wipers on since 5:30 a.m. and it's mainly just dealing with this. You can see some light rain there on the windshield. Our windshield wipers are going. We've heard Elizabeth describe it as inconvenient all morning, and that's exactly what it is right now. As we can see, we are in some traffic here in the morning commute, the rush hour traffic as people are on their breaks, but just be sure to keep some distance in between you and the car in front of you because these roadways are wet and there are some slick spots out here. So we are, of course, keeping track of this, keeping you guys updated. Again, this is Durham Freeway and we are headed northbound.
All right, and some really good advice there, Ali. And of course, we can't stress enough, leave the house a little sooner than usual this morning because of the spotty showers that we've been experiencing all morning. This crash we've been monitoring now for the last hour or so on I-87 in the southbound lanes right near the Smithfield Road exit. You can see first responders working that scene. At least one lane is closed. So if you're in a rush this morning, you might want to just get off on Smithfield Road and work your way over to Pool Road and then back onto the Beltline because right now you're looking at an 8-minute delay coming in from Nightdale. Just a 4-minute delay otherwise coming in from Wake Forest this morning. Over in Durham, things are actually getting better on that westbound lanes. You're using Wade Avenue to get to Durham this morning. You're looking at a 6-minute delay. If you're using Highway 98 to come over from Wake Forest into Durham, you're looking at an 8-minute delay. So you're getting ready to head into the car because of these constantly changing traffic conditions. We'll keep you updated on 101.5 HD3.
Thanks, Ken. Deputies in Durham say a driver is in custody after a crash between a minivan and a slingshot. This is video from the WRAL Breaking News Tracker around 4:30 this morning. The minivan and three-wheeled vehicle, the slingshot, were loaded onto a tow truck. This all happened near the intersection of North Mineral Springs Road and Freeman Road. The driver of the slingshot was injured. We're working to learn the charges the minivan driver may face and the condition of the other driver. This morning, we are watching the tropics as Imelda churns up the coast. We're not expecting landfall. We will still feel effects from the storm. WRAL's Laura Levine is live outside Wake County Emergency Management Headquarters this morning with the game plan from emergency responders. Laura.
Renee, good morning. In the last 15 minutes, we just received an update from emergency management officials here in Raleigh. They say that they've been preparing from the storm since late last week, and that although Imelda has shifted away from us here in North Carolina, they're still preparing for the worst, with particular concern about flooding along the North Carolina coast. So Governor Josh Stein, he issued a state of emergency over the weekend, and this really just eliminates some of that red tape, making sure they're able to get resources and relief to those who may need it. The state has assembled 6 swift water rescue crews with more than 100 personnel, 2 urban search and rescue teams specializing in building collapses, and nearly 400 state National Guard soldiers are on standby.
We want to make sure that we have the resources staged and ready to go if any of our counties, cities, or towns need additional resources to supplement first responders as we go through the beginning of the week with the uncertainty still in the rainfall forecast.
And although a lot of focus right now is on the coast, they say they also have resources ready to go and move into eastern North Carolina if needed. Laura Levine, WRAL News, live in Raleigh.
You can get prepared with the WRAL weather app, track tropical models, and read a Q&A written by our meteorologists. Turn on notifications to get the latest updates. The app is free to download.
Yeah, the big story we're following this hour today, Governor Josh Stein will be in Southport for a briefing with law enforcement officers after shooting that happened there over the weekend. 3 people died, 5 others were hurt Saturday night when someone shot from a boat into a restaurant. The suspect is expected in court later today. We may learn more about the victims during that appearance as well. Investigators say 40-year-old Nigel Edge of Oak Island used an AR rifle to shoot at American Fish Company. They call the attack both targeted and highly premeditated. The waterfront restaurant is closing indefinitely, and that's according to a Facebook post. After the arrest, the FBI searched Edge's home and vehicles. They found multiple weapons. Investigators say Edge claims to be a combat veteran suffering from PTSD. Oak Island police say they've had many encounters with him in the past.
There are some minor contacts over the years, but nothing significant in his past, which would give us any indication that he was capable of such horror. The thread that connects everyone who's a victim in this case to this point just appears to be a love of having a good time and enjoying all that Southport has to offer.
There's a growing memorial outside American Fish Company. The police chief says many of the victims were from out of state. Their names have not been released. The Oak Island police chief says Edge frequently hung out on their pier. He has filed numerous lawsuits on the town and police department within the last couple of years. More charges are pending against him. WRAL will have a crew in Southport this afternoon to cover the governor's visit.
Investigators in Michigan are trying to learn how many people are still missing after a church was shot into and set on fire. This happened at the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints in Grand Blanc near Flint. 2 more people were found dead inside the church last night, and that brings the death toll to 4 people. 2 others were shot and killed. At least 8 people are injured. 1 is in critical condition. The church building is a total loss from the fire. Crews have not yet been able to search the entire building. 40-year-old Thomas Sanford is accused of ramming his car into the front door of that church before shooting at people inside. Sanford was killed by officers in the back parking lot. The Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives believes he used gasoline to set the church on fire. The FBI is investigating this attack as a targeted act of violence.
Well, Renee, following yesterday's attack, we're also hearing from the local Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints community. The attack comes 1 day after the death of church president Russell Nelson at 101 years old. The community in Raleigh says the community is rallying support around those in Michigan, but say the support doesn't deny the need to address security measures at local churches. Local security expert Patrick Field outlined how churches can do that.
Well, we put ballards, concrete ballards right up front of the entrance where a car cannot penetrate it. Have a security team. You might take, a handful of security guys and give them additional training.
Investigators there in Grand Blanc still trying to figure out a motive in this shooting. They've also not said whether there is a connection between the suspect and the church.
And happening right now in the WRAL Live Center, following this video here, it looks like an accident involving a school bus and an SUV. This happened on NC 50 and Sanders Road earlier this morning. The bus was headed to McGee's Crossroads Middle School. We've learned there were 9 students on board, no injuries to the students, but you can see that red Jeep there, pretty banged up, pretty damaged. So we are working to get more information on whether anybody in that particular car was hurt. As soon as we get more information on this, we will bring it to you from the Live Center.
Still ahead, unwanted charges. Users of a fitness app say it charged them for services they didn't sign up for. 5 on your side reveals a pattern of complaints.
And this reminder, it is a WRAL weather alert day as we track Imelda. The tropical storm will not make landfall along on the East Coast, though we'll feel some effects as you look live at Carolina Beach, a rather rainy and cloudy Carolina Beach. And meteorologist Elizabeth Gardner shows us how much rain we'll get and when it comes to when we see some breezy conditions as well.
844, we have a steady flow of tropical moisture that's coming out of the south, moving into North Carolina, and it's going to be with us all day today, tonight, and tomorrow, but it's going to be light and patchy, so we're not looking at that flooding risk that we were, 3 or 4 days ago, and it looked like Imelda may come very close to us. But it is wet out there. It's going to be kind of an inconveniently wet day today. You can see our hour-by-hour rain chances, so it is a WRAL weather alert day. We're not expecting it to flood. It's just going to be a wet day for us. We're going to see a 60% chance of rain later on this afternoon, and it's going to be a wet commute for sure. It'll probably be a wet commute tomorrow morning, but then after that, we start to see the rain pushing on out. I'll show you how much rain we could see total, and we'll take a look at the winds that we could see as well. Coming up.
Elizabeth, we're staying on top of this situation here on I-87 in the southbound lanes, right near the Smithfield Road exit. You can see first responders working that scene. At least one lane is closed. Of course, we're dealing with the intermittent showers and those wet road conditions, so it's causing a little bit of a backup. Right now, you're looking at a 12-minute delay coming in from Nightdale this morning, so keep that in mind. We are seeing a little bit of a slowdown around that I-885, I-40 interchange. You're looking at a 12-minute delay coming in from Durham this morning, so just keep that in mind as you're about to head out.
Ken, thanks. The state of Oregon has filed a lawsuit against President Donald Trump as he gets ready to send 200 National Guard troops to Portland. The president says the order is in response to growing threats against ICE agents and to protect its ICE facilities and handle any protests. Oregon's governor says there is no need for military troops in Portland. Other state officials say the deployment will bring chaos to the city. Right now, troops are stationed in cities including Washington, D.C. and Chicago. The governor of Tennessee says ICE agents are also expected to arrive in Memphis this week.
Well, people who signed up for a fitness app say their bank account was hit with unexpected charges. There's a pattern of these complaints involving the Lasta Healthy Weight Loss app. 5 Inside's Ashley Rowe has a warning from one customer.
Lasta markets itself as a wellness app assistant, helping you build healthy habits through fasting, diet tracking, and exercise. But customers say that after signing up for the app, they were charged for things they didn't agree to.
I thought I was getting a free trial to learn how to eat right and exercise. And the next thing I knew, I got charged $10. And so I tried to cancel it, but I got charged $10 again.
Joyce Fuller of Hope Mills is one of hundreds of people who have filed complaints about Lasta with the Better Business Bureau. The BBB issued an alert saying Lasta has a pattern of unanswered complaints concerning receiving recurring charges after signing up for a free trial. Fuller was eventually able to get Lasta to stop charging her, but she's still frustrated.
I'm beginning to think that there's nothing to sign up for. If it says it's free, it's not. If it says it's coming to you, it's not. There is nothing out there that they're giving away. Nothing. Don't fall for it.
5 on Your Side asked Lasta for their response to all these complaints against them. So far, they have not responded. Ashley Rowe, 5 on Your Side.
The Centennial Authority Building and Construction Committee is meeting later today. One of the items on their agenda is enhancements to the Lenovo Center. They're expected to discuss the upcoming renovation project. The board will also review the mechanical package. That meeting starts at 12 o'clock.
Hillshire Brands recalling 58 million pounds of corn dog and sausage on stick products. Federal inspectors with the Agriculture Department say the items could have pieces of wood inside. The recall comes after several complaints and at least 5 people were hurt. The products were sold across the country. Anyone who purchased these should throw them out or return them to the store.
You won't be able to shop at the Raleigh market for a little while. Sunday was the last day before the state fair took over the fairgrounds. The outdoor part of the Raleigh market will reopen on November 8th. The indoor part will be closed until late spring because of roof repairs to the 2 buildings where it's housed. Some shoppers say they're disappointed about that.
My family, we're usually here 4 or 5 times a month just to kind of stroll through, it's a Saturday or Sunday. So, hoping that it'll be open sooner than later.
Well, it will be open again in November. The last day was a busy one for the Raleigh market. The parking lots filled up at one point and people were parking along the streets.
A reunion in the West Wing plus a Pokemon update. Here's David Daniel with today's Hollywood Minute.
A terribly flawed woman is now the president, and only we know just how flawed.
Flawed or not, Allison Janney is back for season 3 of The Diplomat and beyond. Netflix says Janney and her old West Wing pal Bradley Whitford will go from guest stars to series regulars in season 4, which begins production this fall. Netflix also announced Haunted Hotel will return for a second spooky season.
Building owner caught her vandalizing his property.
Ava, it's one of your dad's murals. Yeah, I'm aware.
Tuesday's High Potential has Ava in trouble, and actress Amira J says that's just a taste of what's ahead for her character.
Ava kind of starts poking her nose where it doesn't belong and trying to be a detective in a way and try to figure things out herself and kind of go behind her mom's back a little bit, which doesn't make her mom very happy.
The Pokemon Company has released a limited edition pack for the Pokemon Trading Card Game Pocket app. Deluxe Pack EX is available now through October 29th, with each pack guaranteed to include a card of 4 diamond rarity or higher. The app is available for Android and iOS devices. Catching them all in Hollywood, I'm David Daniel.
It is 8:50 and we're seeing a widespread rain out there, light patchy rain, and that's something we're going to see on and off throughout the day today.
And tonight and tomorrow too. So it is a WRAL weather alert day just for some inconvenient weather. Now, a few days ago, we were looking at a chance of some flooding when it looked like Imelda may actually make landfall somewhere in the Carolinas, but that is no longer the case. So we're just looking at ½ an inch to an inch of rain, which won't cause any flooding. And our wind gusts are going to be fairly moderate too, just 20 to 30 miles per hour. That typically doesn't do any damage. And fortunately, a storm will be far enough offshore that we are not going to be in that tornado zone. So here's a look at tropical storm Imelda right now. Winds at 50 miles per hour, moving north at 9. But of course, it's going to pick up and start to move off to the east pretty rapidly. We take a look here by tomorrow, or at least overnight tonight, it starts that westerly path, could become a Category 1 moving over Bermuda. And that's where it would have the greatest impacts. We take a look at Hurricane Umberto, a whole different story. This is a Category 4 storm with winds at 145 miles per hour. It is big and powerful. It is moving northwest at 14 right now, but it also is going to go northward and then make that right turn fairly quickly. And it's just going to drag Imelda along with it. At one point, it looked like the storms would be too far apart that they wouldn't impact each other, but now it looks like Imelda will be much weaker, Umberto much stronger, and close enough together that what will happen is Umberto will just be able to kind of drag Imelda right on off the coast. So that's good news. All the rain with Imelda is down here around the Bahamas. We do have a steady flow of moisture coming out of the south, and that's bringing some rain to us for now, and that will continue for the next day or so. Umberto, of course, rotates counterclockwise, and a hurricane like this tends to kind of draw in everything around it. And so that's how it's going to be able to pick up Imelda and sort of drag it along, and it pulls out of here. By the time we get to Tuesday night, we're going to start to see some clearing. We get into a northerly flow after these two storms move away, and that will dry us out nicely. But in the meantime, our southerly flow does bring us rain. We're going to see that on and off for today, tonight, and into tomorrow morning. Again, not expecting any flooding out of this, but it'll be, inconvenient, uncomfortable. We're going to see some showers on and off today, tonight, tomorrow. We'll just kind of roll it on through. There's 10 p.m., maybe a little bit of a break, and then by the time we get to the morning commute tomorrow, we'll likely have some more light showers, but by lunchtime, it should all move on out of here, which will be nice, or at least it'll taper off to a few isolated showers. How much rainfall are we talking about? A lot of places will probably see less than ½ an inch, say Goldsboro, Rocky Mount, South Hill. There are going to be some places potentially that end up with as much as 1.5 inches of rain.
Thanks, Elizabeth. Before we go to break, here are the winning lottery numbers, and we'll get another check on weather and traffic next.